Boker Tov, I'm Rabbi Danyiel, and we're going to be talking a little bit about um, Joseph, and we're starting in Genesis chapter 37. Okay, um, some unique things. I was reading over this over Shabbat yesterday, Sabbath, and I was reading it in Hebrew, and some things just kind of popped out at me that normally doesn't pop out at a person when you glance over it. But because I was reading in Hebrew, these things kind of stood out and kind of spoke to me a little bit. That there's a deeper message being taught here. Okay, so I'm going to read it in English real quick, and then I'll read it in Hebrew, and I'll emphasize the parts in Hebrew that stand out. It says, Jacob settled in the land of his father's sojournings, in the land of Canaan. These are the chronicles of Jacob. Joseph, at the age of 17 years, was a shepherd with his brothers by the flock, but he was a youth with the sons of Bilhah and sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph would bring evil reports about them to their father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his sons, since he was a child of his old age, and he made him a fine woolen tunic. His brothers saw that it was he whom his father loved most of all his brothers, so they hated him, and they could not speak to him peacefully. Um, it's unique because when you study all of this stuff, you ask any theologian on the street, for the most part, um, how many wives did Jacob have? Most theologians will respond, well, he had two. He had Rachel and Leah. Um, he was tricked into marrying Leah, but he really wanted to marry Rachel, so he had two wives. In actuality, no, he had four wives. A lot of people don't consider Zilpah and Bilhah a wife because they were handmaidens, they were servants, they were, in actuality, they were sisters. They were all four sisters. According to Jewish tradition, they were all four sisters. But Bilhah and Zilpah were uh, came from a slave mother, where Rachel and Leah came from a full status mother. It's something in the Middle East where, in the ancient days, they had full status wives and concubines, which were basically slave wives. So Zilpah and Bilhah were born as slaves, basically. Now, in the competition between Rachel and Leah for children to win over Jacob's heart, Jacob's love, um, they wanted to have more kids, and this is how you end up eventually with 12 sons of Jacob. Um, so, because uh, because Rachel is barren for so long, she ends up giving over her maidservant. Um, she basically gives over her maidservant to Jacob. Well, that's when Jacob has a third wife. And then after that, Leah gives over her maidservant to Jacob, and then Jacob has a fourth wife. Now, wait a second. Somebody's saying, well, where does it say it's their wife? Well, listen to what I just said in English. I said it in English when I read it in English. It said right here, but he was with youth with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. You see, so here we see his father's wife. Now, in Hebrew, it stood out because the conception is, wait a second here. We know what's coming forward. We know that Joseph is sold to slavery, right? But who does Joseph really have a problem with? You see what I'm saying? Joseph has a problem. I think there's a problem going deeper than what we can see. I think there's a problem that goes back because Joseph himself looks at these men. He's not looking at the six sons of Leah, okay, and himself, the son of Rachel. He's not looking at them in any second class citizen type of way. I mean, he's looking at them. They're full brothers. I mean, half brothers, but they're full status because they come from a full status wife. You see what I'm saying? Where these four men coming from Zilpah and Bilhah, it appears that, hey, wait a second, they're from slave women, so therefore they must be, slave brothers or something to that effect. Um, and that's something that wait a second here. Why would he be giving an evil report? So he's giving an evil report on these four men, right? The two sons, because Bilhah had two sons and Zilpah had two sons with Jacob, Yaakov. So you have something funny going here. And there's also play on words because Ra'eh is a shepherd and they're out there shepherding, and Ra'ah is a bad report. So there's kind of a little play on words there too, but we're not going to get into that aspect of it. Um, but when I was reading it, why does it say Ra'et b'nei Zilpah and the sons of Zilpah? Nisei, I'm sorry, Et b'nei Bilhah, the sons of Bilhah, Va'et b'nei Zilpah, b'nei Zilpah. Okay, so the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah. Why did it not say the sons of Jacob, or specifically the sons of Bilhah, Zilpah, Leah? It didn't say that. It specifically only says the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah. But the scripture's teaching us something here too. The scripture's teaching us, it goes on to say, Nishe Aviv, the wives of his father. Okay? So the scripture is saying, no matter what we may think, okay, these two women are full status. These two women are the wives of Jacob. They're not the concubines of Jacob. They are the wives of Jacob. Okay? And that kind of just stood out way out, because it brings a different shade to the whole story. It brings a deeper meaning to say, hey, wait a second, what's going on with Joseph? Right? What's really going on with Joseph? Why does he have this beef with these four brothers? Okay? So that's the first little nugget in there in the story.